All right, so if you watch the old movies, I'm thinking really old movies like from my childhood. Um, if you watch the old movies, especially the old Western type movies, you might have seen cases where people are in the desert and they're dying of thirst. So that is a real danger if you live in that kind of an environment. And so evolution over time, over thousands of years, in humans and other mammals, we have adapted to prevent dehydration. And we have a system, it's called the angiotensin system. And basically what we can do, we had talked about the juxtaglomerular apparatus, and we had said that can adjust the diameter of the afferent arteriole. And so if the afferent arteriole, that's the arteriole bringing blood to the glomerulus, if it's large, you filter more water out. And that means you're going to lose water. And then we had said, though, in the juxtaglomerular apparatus, we had said that you are monitoring for too much water loss. And so we have a system called the angiotensin system, and it is a system that functions to limit water loss. And it does this by constricting the diameter, making the size difference between the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole smaller. So if the afferent arteriole is small and the efferent arteriole is also small, you don't filter as much blood, whereas if it's large, you filter more. So we have this system that we have evolved to prevent water loss. And it involves the angiotensin system, and this is a series of hormones that are there to prevent too much water loss. Now, this, of course, flies in the face of modern medicine, right? Modern medicine recognizes, first of all, if I was to say, how are you likely to die? Which way are you more likely to die? Are you more likely to be out in the desert and dry up and die of thirst, or high blood pressure? Statistically, of course, high blood pressure is a much larger killer of humans. And unless you live in Africa or, in the desert, unless you live in the desert, you're much more likely to die from the opposite of this. And so there's a lot of modern medicines that target the angiotensin receptors on various cells. And the point I wanted to make, and it's sort of an aside, but it's very significant for right now, is that the people who are studying the coronavirus, this version of SARS, you may have heard it's not just your lungs that are damaged by our current pandemic. It also involves your kidneys and your heart. Well, it ends up, when you look at that virus, the way it enters into your cells is through angiotensin system receptors. And so it's going to have and that's why people with high blood pressure have problems with it, and it causes kidney damage. And it's not well known at this point, but it's interesting as information comes out to try and understand what's going on with this current epidemic. That's why. It's because this virus, which is introducing its RNA, which is the copy of a gene, which is used to make a protein. The way it gets into your cells is through that receptor. So the receptors associated with this system that is in place to prevent you from dehydrating are what are being exploited by this virus in our current epidemic.